Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folani. Hope we meet you well. Okay, today our subject matter is going to be, we've looked at it once, but there's, from time to time we do look at a matter again with different experts. And so it's the Constitutional Review, which, daily viewers of the program will realize that we've actually treated. The former vice president, or a former vice president, Atiku Abubakar, proposes a single term for the president of Nigeria, a single 6-year term. And in the document that he had sent to the National Assembly, because we are in the season of reviewing the Constitution again, he makes that proposal, in order to improve the quality of contestants that go in there, and also to prevent violence, any untoward, anything untoward in selecting our president, and also increasing or improving on the educational qualifications of people who actually step forward for that exalted office. So from where we are now, 2 terms of 4 years each, making 8 is what we're operating. But it's not a very, very new suggestion. It has been in the works from before. He's now saying that maybe a single 6-year term might be the way to go. Okay, so we'll look at that. And of course, yet again, we'll take your views on it from home. In the studio, we have Mr. Jide Ologun, legal practitioner and political affairs analyst. Thank you very much,
You're welcome,
Jide, as always, for coming back on.
It's my pleasure.
So, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar says he's proposing an amendment of Section 135, subsection 2 of the Constitution to accommodate his idea. And the amendment, you will explain that to us. The amendment involves amending the Constitution subject to subsection 1. Which I think, explain that to us so that before we go into the nitty-gritty of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's suggestion.
Thank you very much. You see, the subsection 1 talks about what qualifies a new president to come in, maybe on the completion of the term of the sitting president, or in the case of the demise of the president. And section 2 specifies the term, which for now in Nigeria is 4 years. And my position on that is to tell us something crucial about time. The value of time is not in the length of time, but the usage of time. So whether we talk about 6-year single term or 4-year single term of double terms,
yes, maximum.
It's about what you can deliver to the citizens. Anyone who desires to deliver good governance and do it in 2 years.
Oh, okay, because I was going to come to that. You often hear from these political actors that
exactly.
Oftentimes the things that we are doing, the projects, in order to see them through, do require more than the constitutional time frame. And you can never be sure, perhaps, of those who succeed you. So that was the whole idea of where, there was the famous or infamous attempt at a 3rd term grab. That has never actually been fully admitted, as you recall. So there are these things. So the idea, if they are saying that about 8 years, that is, if a particular occupant is lucky and gets the second 4-year term, so he'll be spending 8 years. Muhammadu Buhari spent 8 years, and everybody before him spent 8 years. I don't know what the judgment of history is about their performance. But here is a former Vice President Atiku Abubakar saying that 6 years isn't enough, which means that he's sort of on all fours with your assertion that if you're serious about it, you can do things in 2, maybe 3 years.
Absolutely. And by virtue of Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, the National Assembly is to make law for the peace, orderliness, and good governance in Nigeria. So if the National Assembly is persuaded at that time factor, we compel leaders to deliver on their key performance as leaders in the country.
Yeah.
Why not? The Constitution can further be amended But I want to suggest that we first build the culture of accountability, that even the time you are given, what have you done with it? John Magufuli did not spend 16 years as the president of Tanzania. He was there for a short while, but he repositioned Tanzania towards national development. You know, I did some research on Botswana. Botswana has, you know, universal health scheme that is heavily funded by the government, the education system. Botswana is in Africa and it's one of the frontline economies in the world, and consistently so. You mentioned
it's a relatively smaller company and then theoretically easier to manage.
A senator in his comments compared Ghana to Lagos State. That Ghana is not as big as Lagos State. Again, that is another issue for us. God says in his word that if you are faithful with little, much will be released unto you to manage.
Okay.
So it's not about, sir, India has about 300 million cows.
Yeah.
More than the population of Nigeria. You see, so it's about the quality of what you want to develop to your people. Countries like Sweden, like Norway, like Switzerland, and you know, countries that are doing well, it's a determination of delivering the dividends of good governance. So for me, you mentioned former President Muhammadu Buhari. He was at a time the military head of state.
That's right.
He came back for another additional 8 years. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo was a military head of state. He came back. You see, so these are issues. So Nigeria must first establish...
And in their coming back, I don't know, the jury is still out on their scorecard?
You see, it's subject to debate because we operate the denial mode in Nigeria. You see, where we have the hailers who will never be forthright in benchmarking performance in office. But if the leadership of Nigeria has been consistently developmental in their approach to leadership, by now Nigeria should be the third richest country in the world. You know, I love to emphasize the fact that crude oil was discovered in commercial quantity in 1956, even ahead of our gaining political independence from Britain. And the first refinery was commissioned in 1965. So if leadership has done well in Nigeria, NNPC was established on the 1st of April 1977. And today, NNPC cannot even boast of maintaining a functional refinery out of the 4 national refineries. So for me, it's not a matter of length of time. We just celebrated the 64th independence anniversary of Nigeria. And sir, my comment was that if Nigeria were to be a civil servant, he would have retired 4 years ago. So retire into prosperity or into poverty with all the resources we have. So I quite appreciate where Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is coming from. But I'm yet to be convinced that the length of time will deliver good governance. It's all about determination. You have to be deliberate about it. When Lee Kuan Yew started leading Singapore in 1965, when Singapore left Malaysia as a little country with little resources, and you saw what he did, you know, by virtue of determination.
Exactly.
Yes.
And ironclad discipline.
Exactly. He told them he was not democratic in nature, but he had a vision. Okay. And you see, we have this concept in management called management by objective, which means you set smart objectives, specific, measurable, attainable, you know, realistic and time-bound between now and now.
Yes.
Where are we going to be? There had been promises that the Port Harcourt refinery will come on stream after spending about $2 billion. Do we have it, you know, functioning and things like that? And you've seen what Dangote has done. So I think speaking to leadership in this country and by extension politicians, enough is enough.